Morning YouTubians, Gary VWJawbreaker. Welcome to another video where today it's actually a little nippy outside in shorts and a t-shirt because, you know, Florida. As you saw by the thumbnail, red polyurethane Volkswagen mounts. Don't use them. Don't use the rag joints. Don't use the shift couplers. Don't use that garbage. I've been having this conversation with people a lot lately. They've been seeing all kinds of failures from these things because they don't last. They've never lasted. I don't understand why they still sell them and people still buy them if they do not last. So why am I making this video? Well, I screwed up. When I mocked up to 60, so this is a 1960 Bug, right? And we've got a 1968 transmission in it, and there's an adapter plate in there and all that stuff. I wasn't sure what transmission mount I needed to use. And if you're unfamiliar with Volkswagens, transmission mount is what holds your engine in the car, because your engine bolts to the transmission. There's no mounts on the transmission. There's no mounts on the engine. There's only mounts on the transmission. Yeah, I mocked the car up. Somebody gave me some of these mounts, probably because they were smart enough not to use them, right? And I forgot to change it out. So the car's been on the road for a little over a year. Started hearing a clunking noise, and what you know, that's what's left of the nose cone mount. It's shaped kind of like that, big oval. We're gonna be putting a stock one in there. This won't have any problems. This, literally, I started hearing a clunk. I mean, you can see how hard that is. It is so brittle and hard. And it hasn't even hardly been in there for hardly any time at all. So I started hearing a clunk when I would put it in gear, right? I'd start to take off and I'd start to hear a clunk, 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 clunk. And I'm like, whoa, something's going on. Something was going on. Transmission's doing this in the car, the front nose, and that's what was going on. So guess what we get to do today? Right before we get ready to go to a show, replace the transmission mount, which means we got to jack up the car, pull the tires, pull the motor, and partly pull the transmission just to replace that front mount. So guys, again, don't use these red urethane garbage mounts, couplers, rag joints, steering joints, whatever you want to call them. Don't use them. They're garbage. I've seen so many people lately just have all kinds. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get Jawbreaker out of the way. Let's get diving into this, and hopefully we can get this done today, because there's other things I need to be doing. I got a little bit of child labor law coming out here. Morning. And do me a favor, everybody. Drop a comment down below and tell Levi happy birthday. Tomorrow is his 16th birthday. How did they grow up so fast? So tires are off. One of the things I like to do is, for my electrical back here, I got everything kind of goes underneath to a pigtail, so a couple zip ties, and all the electrical comes right off. What's the matter? Did I give you the wrong size?
Yeah, you gave me the wrong size.
Bigger or smaller?
Slightly smaller. I don't think it's...
okay.
Yeah.
Hold on, got to get them more tools. Here, see if it's a 12 then, or it might be standard.
That should be fine.
Yeah? All right, let me get you a 12 socket. You want a socket for the impact?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, there you go. I'm gonna let the genius get back to work here. So fuel's disconnected, we have electrical disconnected, oil's disconnected. I'm gonna go ahead and get the jack, and then we'll go ahead and start on the bolts. Hold it on. You want to grab the 17 and grab it underneath and go ahead and start those two nuts. Yank it out. Engine's out, thanks to this guy. Very nice. Not bad. Disconnect oil lines, fuel lines, throttle cable, electrical, couple odds and ends, but that's not good. What do you think that's from? That looks all right. Yeah, that's supposed to go there. So I guess I'm pulling the clutch off, pressure plate, checking that out, trying to fix that. If not, I gotta order a whole new pressure plate. Yay. It's just more to the list. On this setup, I'm gonna disconnect the mounts. See, I was smart enough and used the regular mounts here, but I guess not in the nose cone, which is the more difficult one. I'm hoping that, yep, I should be able to leave all my brake lines in place. Hoping to leave my truss bar in place. Probably gonna have to disconnect my clutch cable. Maybe. It's kind of dirty in there from all the off-roading. Huh. Pull front mounts first. Technically those would be the rear mounts. Pull those first and then we'll go from there. Kind of didn't think that through too well. So the lower cage mounts, I added those brackets to help support, but then I threw a couple tacks onto the frame horns and, well, kind of had to cut those off to get the trans brace off. Oh well, live and learn. What do you do? Transmission is pretty much just hanging there. What's left of the nose cone mount is what's holding it on. So now we need to go ahead and go up there and disconnect what's left of it. Then we should be able to slide it forward just far enough to put the mount in. So we should not have to disconnect axles and actually pull the transmission. In theory. I mean, I've done it once or twice before, so it might work. But it may not work because you're watching me. So just close your eyes and don't watch. All right, here we are under the car. There's the mid mount. And that's what's left of that transmission mount, nose cone. So it's pretty well shot. Do not use them. They're junk, they're garbage. And now we get to go ahead and pull this. Yay! But I just pulled a transmission mount that's supposed to have 4 bolts with 1 bolt.
Oh, there we go. Smart. Got it.
Got the other half of the mount by pulling one stinking bolt. Alright, well, we got the mount out, and whatever's left of it's over there somewhere. Levi's up in here disconnecting the shift coupler because, well, we got to slide the transmission back some. I'm really hoping that we don't have to fully pull the transmission, but might be all right. Might be all right. So genius me forgot to hit record. I haven't set you up, but new mounts in. Definitely easier with the Bowden tube for the clutch disconnected and the axles disconnected. The whole transmission just goes, slides right back and right in place, but got the nuts and bolts all tightened up, ground strap back in place, so we are good. Now it's just a matter of reassembling everything. Well, reassembly is basically the opposite of disassembly, so I saved you all that headache. And I was wrong. You do need to disconnect your axles and your clutch cable to be able to slide the transmission back far enough. So the couple times I did it, those were in sand rails. In an actual bodied car, it's a little different. I didn't feel like fighting with it, so that's just what we did. But everything's back together. Everything's good. I went ahead and slid the cage on so I could go ahead and get those bottom parts lined up. Once those are lined up, I went ahead and torqued down the big frame horn bolts, and then went ahead and tacked the brackets back on the side there. It's kind of a pain with those brackets tacked on the side to be able to, you know, remove the transmission, but I feel a little safer with it tacked in place. Just a little extra security, knowing that with the extra weight towing with the trailer behind us, that things shouldn't flex. Shouldn't is key word. Next, we need to go ahead and tackle what we didn't know was a problem, since we got what we know is a problem fixed. Does that make sense? Dude, sometimes you make no sense at all. I know. So we'll go ahead and get the clutch off, the pressure plate off, figure out what's going on with the little disc. I know it's removable, like I said, but we'll go ahead and take some cleaner and clean up the back of the engine since it's out. Clutch still looks good, and this is the one that was in Jawbreaker for quite a while. I was in Jawbreaker for a couple years. This is the Cushlock disc, and that's a Kennedy Stage 1 pressure plate, so we'll clean that up a little bit before we slap her back together. But this right here, this was the issue. That little ring came off that holds this on for the earlier style pressure plates. So you can see those stick up, those go in between the fingers. The rest of them are all crushed down probably from, and wore out. Holy cow. I think I have another one from another pressure plate, so maybe we'll try to put that on there. Alright, so again, this is the one that came out. This is the other one I have. If you notice, I've got the fingers all up to be able to catch the retaining ring, which holds that in place. And this one here, those all got crushed somehow. Interesting. So we'll stick that one off to the side. This just goes in the middle, like so. And then we got to find a way to manipulate that in there. And it's a split ring. So we should be able to start one side. Just a matter of working that ring all the way around. Over here. Bippity boppity boop. She's in place. So if you notice, that ring catches all those little lips that stick up, and that's what holds that on. So technically, we're good to go. We can go ahead and put this back on. That saved me like $100 and some. Got engine cleaned up. If I cared at all about it, I wouldn't have used a Brillo pad or whatever you want to call them, but a little super clean on the back. Look at that. Almost like brand new. So I am waiting on a few things. This is supposedly ethanol, fuel safe. That thing's hard as a rock. I'm not chancing it, so I've got new fuel line on order and a few other things. So I don't want to put the engine in and then try to deal with everything. So we're gonna wait, but as soon as that comes in, I'll bring you back because I'm gonna do some cheap AN line stuff. I want to show you. Pretty simple. Engine's in, mounted. I'm an idiot though. I sat there and fought the thing last night for like an hour, not realizing that the Kafer bar mount was hitting the exhaust and not allowing the engine to go all the way in. Sometimes it's the simple things. You gotta stop, walk away, reassess. Anyway, so AN lines, right? If you notice, we did those here on the 60 for the oil cooler lines. I needed to go ahead and replace my fuel line, so I figured let's go ahead and do some AN lines on the fuel lines because, well, the other ones were a bummer. So those right there are your standard fittings for your Weber carburetors. That's an M10, I think, by 1, and they make an M10 by 1 by 6 AN. And that 6 AN right there makes it real easy to be able to swap over your fuel lines. Now this is what they call a push lock fitting. See, it's barbed. What you do is you take your regular, this is 3/8 fuel line, cut it to length, slip this in, and then instead of using regular worm clamps, you got pinch clamps. You buy big old bag of these on Amazon. These are stainless for like 10 bucks. And then they have special, like, I don't know, these are actually really weird dikes I've had forever. Wire cutters, side cutters, whatever. I use these to actually pinch them and it works great instead of having to buy a $20 tool. Now, don't get me wrong, that $20 tool would be pretty nice because they're usually ratcheting, but that's okay. So I'll set you up real quick, show you how I do it. It's easy peasy, man. All right, hopefully you can see and you're not in my way. Just need to measure how long we want our line. Probably go ahead and put our fitting on just to make sure so we can get a good measurement. So much easier than a regular barb fitting, I tell you. So I'm gonna push that up in there, just give me a little bit more slack. Use some cable cutters, get a nice straight cut. Fitting off. Put that on that side. Slide that on all the way. Oh, bippity boppity boop, Bob's your uncle. Take our little pliers. I want that kind of to the inside. Get it set right. Yeah, right about there's good. Pinch those puppies down. Fuel line's made. No more fighting with barb fittings. Now, I do make AN wrenches that you can use so you don't mar up the aluminum, but you know, I don't have one of those for this size. I have them for my oil size, but not my fuel size. And then just snug it down. That's it. It's not even real tight, just snug it. And as you can see in there, it's nice. I got my thing up top instead of the side, but close enough. It's not on the bottom or over here, so I like it. One side down, one side to go, and fuel will be done. And there we go. Much safer and simpler than a barbed hose fitting. You know, we got a little worm clamp and try to fight to get the stupid thing off there. Much simpler, much simpler. Unscrew it, you're done. Same with my fuel pressure regulator. I ended up using some 45s. So I used a 6AN to 3/8 adapter there on both sides. And that gets me up, loops around, got a nice loop to it. So, engine's in. Let's see here. Hook up electrical, hook up our oil lines, and that's about it. Oh, if you need to cut the pinch clamp, say you wanted to change this fuel line out, the part that we pinched over, use side cutters and side cut that, and the whole thing will pry right off. Much simpler. If you don't want to use the pinch clamps, well, you can always use worm clamps, but just make sure you keep those tight. All right, well, let's button this thing up. Let's test it out. All right, oil lines are done, electrical's done. Speaking of oil lines, something you may want to know. They actually sell these caps that you can run to plug your lines. And that's going to help you prevent you from draining so much oil. So, I mean, they just go right on there, take them off, put them on. Now, something I'm going to do is I'll disconnect my coil and actually crank the car over until I build oil pressure, then re-verify my oil level. I mean, you did interrupt the oil system. Doesn't hurt to check that. I lost very, very, very little, but still, I had an open line. Let's go ahead and be safe, right? Let's protect our stuff. That's why I like to run the VR1 oil with a high zinc in it for these cams and flat tappet cams. No, it's not a sponsor. It's just what I like to run. You do you. We're not getting into an oil debate here. All right. Oh, so throttle cable. Need to hook that up and adjust clutch cable. This thing will be about done. But I'm going to step inside and eat real quick, so I'll see you in a second. All right, throttle cable's hooked up, built oil pressure. Let's go ahead and kick the fuel pump on and find out if we have any fuel leaks. So we'll go over here. Ignition on, fuel pump on. And we got fuel pressure there. All that's nice and dry. Nice and dry. Check the last side. Yeah. Got 3 pounds of fuel pressure and nothing. We're good. It's back. And funny enough, that weird rattling noise I heard is no longer there. Must have been the ring from the pressure plate. Lovely. So pretty much just put tires back on it, verify the clutch adjustment, put the rear cage on it, and we're ready to take this thing around the block. So I guess that's what we're doing next. Finally making some progress here. I love it. Absolutely love it when things finally come together. Well, there we go. Except for the cage, she's pretty much good to go. So the cage, like you saw me take it off, 4 bolts go on, 1, electrical connector. It's done. Absolutely done. We are good. That weird noise the engine had, gone. Everything feels really smooth. I think it's a win. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. There's no need for you to sit there and watch me put the cage on. I mean, no big deal, right? Slide it on, 4 bolts, plug it in, woohoo. That's pretty much a wrap. I appreciate you guys sticking around. Thanks so much for being here. You know what? Do me a favor. Drop down in the comments and tell me the 60 lives. Just that way I know you made it this far. Do me a favor too. Hit the like button. You'd be surprised how much that really helps with the algorithm on YouTube. So guys, again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We'll catch you soon on another video. Till then, be kind to one another and be good.